Welcome back to our Bible Summary series. Today, we explore the Book of Numbers, a book filled with journeys, failures, lessons, and God's unwavering faithfulness. Though often overlooked, Numbers is one of the most dramatic books in the Old Testament. It tells the story of Israel's 40-year journey through the wilderness, revealing how God shapes his people through discipline, guidance, and mercy. From censuses to rebellions, from miracles to judgments, Numbers shows us what happens when faith meets challenges. Let's walk through this powerful book in a clear and engaging way. Background and context. Numbers is the fourth book of the Torah, traditionally attributed to Moses. The English name Numbers comes from the censuses taken at the beginning and near the end of the book. In Hebrew, however, the title means "in the wilderness," which perfectly describes the book. The story covers roughly 38 years, from Israel's departure from Mount Sinai to their arrival at the borders of the Promised Land. Numbers follows the journey of two generations. The first generation, which rebels and dies in the wilderness. The second generation, which prepares to enter the land. Major sections include 1. Preparation at Sinai, 1:10. 2. Rebellion and wandering, 11:25. 3. The new generation and final instructions, 26:36. Numbers teaches that faith is tested not in comfort, but in the wilderness. Section 1. Preparation at Sinai, Numbers 1:10. The book begins with the census of all Israelite men of fighting age. This organization prepares the people to travel and to enter the land God promised. The tribes are arranged around the tabernacle, showing that God's presence is at the center of Israel's life. The Levites are assigned special duties, including caring for the tabernacle and assisting the priests. God gives instructions on purity, vows, offerings, and the Nazirite lifestyle, symbolizing devotion to God. In chapter 9, God establishes the observance of the Passover in the wilderness. Then, in chapter 10, the silver trumpets sound, and Israel begins its journey from Mount Sinai toward the Promised Land. God leads them through a visible sign, a cloud by day and fire by night. Section 2. Complaints and rebellion begin, Numbers 11:12. Just 3 days after leaving Sinai, the people begin complaining. They long for the food they enjoyed in Egypt and grow tired of the manna God provides. Moses becomes overwhelmed with the burden of leadership, but God provides 70 elders to help him. In chapter 12, Moses faces criticism from his own siblings, Aaron and Miriam. God defends Moses and afflicts Miriam with leprosy, later healing her after Moses intercedes. This early rebellion foreshadows greater challenges ahead. Section 3. The spies in Israel's great failure, Numbers 13-14. This is the turning point of the entire book. 12 spies scout the Promised Land, 10 return with fear, describing giants and fortified cities. Only Caleb and Joshua speak with faith, urging the people to trust God. The people panic and rebel, refusing to enter the land. They even talk about choosing a new leader and going back to Egypt. Because of this unbelief, God declares that the entire generation, except Joshua and Caleb, will die in the wilderness. The people's greatest obstacle is not enemies, but unbelief. Section 4. Rebellion of Korah, Numbers 16-17. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram lead a rebellion against Moses and Aaron, claiming equal spiritual authority. God acts decisively. The earth opens and swallows the rebels. This dramatic moment reinforces that leadership is appointed by God, not self-claimed. Afterward, a miraculous sign, Aaron's staff budding, confirms the priesthood as God's choice. Section 5. More disobedience in the bronze serpent, Numbers 20:21. As the years pass, the people repeatedly complain about water and food. Miriam dies, and shortly after, Moses disobeys God by striking a rock instead of speaking to it. Because of this, Moses is told he will not enter the promised land. Later, the people complain again, and God sends venomous snakes. When they repent, God instructs Moses to raise a bronze serpent. Anyone who looks at it is healed. This becomes a powerful symbol of faith and later points to Christ in the New Testament. Section 6. Balaam's prophecy, Numbers 22-24. A foreign king, Balak, hires the prophet Balaam to curse Israel. But God intervenes and turns every curse into a blessing. Through Balaam, God declares that Israel is blessed and unstoppable. One prophecy even points forward to a coming king from Israel who will rule victoriously. Section 7. The New Generation, Numbers 26:36. The book ends with hope. A new census is taken, representing a new generation ready to enter the land. God gives instructions about inheritance, leadership, offerings, and vows. Joshua is appointed as Moses' successor. Cities of refuge are established for justice and protection. The book closes with the people camped on the plains of Moab, standing on the edge of the land God promised. Key themes. 1. Faith versus unbelief. The greatest battles in Numbers are internal, not external. 2. God's guidance. The cloud and fire symbolize God's constant presence. 3. Holiness. God expects obedience and purity from his people. 4. Leadership. True leadership is humble, obedient, and God-appointed. 5. Consequences. Disobedience brings discipline. Faith brings blessing. 6. Hope and renewal. Despite failure, God raises a new generation ready to trust him. Important characters. Moses, faithful leader who carries a heavy burden. Aaron, high priest and spiritual mediator. Miriam, prophetess and influential figure. Joshua and Caleb, models of courage and faith. Korah, example of rebellion. Balaam, prophet used by God despite mixed motives. The Israelites, learning faith in the wilderness. Life lessons and application Numbers teaches us that faith is tested in seasons of waiting and wandering. The wilderness is where character is formed. We learn that God is patient, even when we fail. Complaining blinds us to blessings. Fear can keep us from God's promises. Leadership requires humility. Obedience is essential to spiritual growth. Most importantly, Numbers reminds us that God never abandons his people. Even when they rebel, he guides, protects, and prepares a new generation for his purposes. Key verse in closing Numbers 23:19. God is not a human being who speaks falsely, nor a mortal who feels regret. Is God one to speak and not act, to decree and not fulfill? Thank you for joining this journey through the book of Numbers. If this video gave you clarity or helped you understand the story better, please give it a like, share it with someone who might enjoy it, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what stood out to you. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next episode as we explore the book of Deuteronomy. Your support truly helps this series continue.